Residents of the City of Wilmington will conduct a live televised presentation.
Welcome back, and we're going to be going through the presentation shortly, so just don't go anywhere. We're going to show you all the details, all the evidence, all the information. But we got joined by two good friends who wanted to come in and make some statements, and I'll start with the NAAC president, Mr. Linwood Jackson.
Thank you very much, Representative Potter. First off, I do want to extend our hearts, our prayers, and our condolences, and share that they are with our friends and families who are the victims of the historic hurricanes Harvey that hit Texas and Louisiana pretty hard. And right now we have Irma going up the Caribbean islands and hitting Texas and Florida and coming up the coast. And we do have some friends and family members down there, and we want to let them know that our hearts and prayers, condolences are with the victims.
That's right.
And we pray that they come out of that pretty good. And I also want to thank God that nobody was hurt when the tree hit your house a few years ago, and that and currently it didn't go through a sheriff's sale as well. I want to thank God for all of those blessings right off the bat. And as you know, Representative Potter, we in NAACP, we strongly endorse economic empowerment and creating employment. When you can't get employment, we're always advocating that you get your own, find your own work. And with that said, we also endorse you getting good work and being qualified and bona fide and certified. We want you to start legal businesses, if you will, and then hire other people to go to work as well. And with that said, I just want to address the issue that I know you want to talk about on the show today, if you're ready to.
I'm ready.
Let's cover that because I want to know what happens when construction companies break the law by performing work illegally, i.e. with no inspections and no certificates and no permits, no licenses, etc. And I don't know if many of you know this or not, but I am a retired millwright welder. After 25 years, I worked in the construction field, into the trades, building, construction. I also have my own businesses as well. I had a carpet company, and we did a lot of work in construction sites all across this state. And I know that you have to be licensed, bonded, and insured to perform this work. And so my question would be, who enforces these laws when these construction companies go out and do work and they're not licensed or bonded? Who covers that? Who enforces that? I don't know.
I want you to call the city, the L&I department, and the mayor, and that's their job to make sure people enforce it.
Well, I don't know whose job it is. If it's their job, then they need to be doing it, because the cities across the state of Delaware, the counties, if you want to do work in the city, if you want to do work in the county, if you want to do work in the state, you have to be licensed, bonded, and insured. And if you're not, then these municipalities should be monitoring that. Somebody has to protect the cities, the citizens of our great state, including the cities up and down our state. Somebody has to protect our seniors and our young people from scrupulous businesses out there. People can just knock on your door and do work, and that are not bonded and certified have to be held accountable, and somebody has to do that. I thought it would be license and inspections, being as though they're the ones that issue licenses and inspections and bonds and so forth and so on. You would think that they would be the ones to monitor these companies out there doing the work.
And they should. I want to get Ty in here real quick. Reverend Ty, Elder.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for your comments, and I ditto everything you said about the folks who are down in Florida, Irma, and then
Harvey.
the other, not Harvey, but there's another storm on the way.
Oh, there's a new one coming.
I don't want to say Julio, but it's a Spanish name. But we are certainly praying for those victims. In addition, we're praying for our friend whose brother has to have open heart surgery.
Oh, yes, we are.
Tomorrow morning. He's been here 12 hours. He's still on the job.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much.
That's dedication.
Yeah, thank you so much. Having said that, for you and your wife, we are definitely praying for you.
Well, thank you.
My friend Rabbi Bills told me sometimes it's the ministry of presence.
Yes.
So I pray that you would accept my presence here tonight, to know that we pledge undying loyalty because of the integrity of how you all do business. Now, I'm very concerned about what I've heard thus far, and you know, I do not listen to a lot of offline talk, a lot of gossip, neighborhood gossip.
Right.
Let the facts speak to what is happening.
That's correct.
Let the truth prevail. I will say this, that it's always about God first, and I appreciate you all keeping Him first. Be ye not weary.
Always. Yes.
Be ye not weary in well-doing. Shall reap if you faint not. And then there's another text that come to mind where God talks, he speaks, and He says, the mountains shall be made low, valley shall be made high, the crooked places made straight, the rough places made smooth.
Right.
But then there's something I love, all flesh shall see it together. This I call an injustice. If indeed, and I have to listen to what your wife was saying, you know, aside from being the treasurer, aside from being a state rep, you're still human beings,
That's
you're
right.
still citizens, and you're still under the umbrella of the protection of our city and the executive office of our city.
Right.
The mayor has to do but one thing, and that is execute his authority. So that came across real clear. And I'm saying to folks, if you were there yesterday, you listened at Westminster Church, and you listened to Father Boyle, he said it's relationships, right, and kinship. That can work positive or it can work negative. And what I hear that the relationships and kinships, you know, in our electoral family may have worked against you for whatever reason. And that has to be straightened out. That is not justice. That has nothing to do
With the law.
With the law.
That's all it is.
That has nothing to do. It's not complicated. It's very simple.
Yes.
There is something when you have a problem with the court system called fraud upon the court. And I beckon you to investigate that, to check it out. When lawyers do not act the way they're supposed to act, when judges are in question about how they rule, it's called fraud upon the court, and that's a process. It's something to be looked upon. It's something to be considered. And then, if indeed what I saw, and I did see where the city did come out and do an inspection, I think the treasurer is absolutely right. Don't come out and inspect anything else. Your seal, that seal,
That's right.
right, governs that behavior for
Yes.
that particular office that was conducting that. We're through with that. And the paperwork says there were 9 different violations.
Right.
9 violations. Now, if this went on back in 2012, and you've been living with this, my God, what about the folks who could not afford to go 30 days?
Right. Yeah.
30 days. So I commend you all for the Spirit of God moving on you to say we need to set up a foundation. Sure, we're going to come through this, but we've been thrust into the fire for a reason.
Yes. We believe that. Well, with that, I'm going to thank you two for coming, because my wife has given me the signal, because we got to get into this presentation.
Please.
We want you to stay tuned.
Before you close, can I add one more
Real
real
quick,
quick?
yeah.
I want to commend the Potters, Velda Potter and Charles Potter, for shining a light on this important issue. Just putting a spotlight on this issue that is a serious problem within our city and state needs to be corrected, and I want to commend you guys for doing that. And I want to give you my pin too, my
Okay,
lapel
thank you.
pin for NAACP.
We're going to take a
the
break.
service you're doing.
They can play that commercial while we're doing it, and we stay tuned. We'll be right back and go through the whole presentation with the facts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, too. All right.
Delaware State Representative Charles Potter Jr. and City of Wilmington Treasurer Velda Jones Potter, speaking as private citizens and lifelong residents of the City of Wilmington, will conduct a live televised press conference, Sunday, September 10, 2017 at the Channel 28 Comcast Studio, 2801 Lancaster Pike, Wilmington, Delaware, 19805. The press conference will run from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. During the live televised press conference, Charles and Velda Potter, as private citizens and homeowners, will discuss the facts about their ongoing dispute with SCA Construction, Incorporated, a local contractor that failed to construct a code-compliant new roof after a massive tree fell on the Potter home in September 2010. The Potters will discuss the lawsuit reported in the press, the City of Wilmington's role in the dispute, and their experience in arbitration and the court system.
The Potters will address the lack of code enforcement by the City of Wilmington against SCA Construction for performing construction work without an upgraded permit and for failing to obtain inspections. SCA Construction was cited by the L&I Review Board in a legal order issued in 2014.
More recently, during a June 21, 2017 inspection of the Potters' home, L&I identified 9 newly discovered construction violations for which L&I has not yet issued citations to SCA. The city's failure to take action against SCA is a failure to protect the safety and health of my family and of every family when they don't force contractors to abide by the code, according to Representative Potter. He relayed that the L&I Review Board order says a criminal summons will be issued if SCA fails to comply. It has been 5 years and the city has not prosecuted SCA, but the City of Wilmington is quick to enforce the code and issue citations when it comes to individual citizens throughout Wilmington.
The horror of the tree hitting our house in 2010 pales in comparison to the injustice we've experienced in the past 5 years, said Velda Potter. We paid SCA $200,000 during construction plus another $119,000 last week to prevent a sheriff's sale and our house still.
Hello and welcome back, and thanks for tuning in tonight. As we mentioned tonight, we're going to talk about what's been happening with our home. And let me just mention, although we hold elected offices as state representative and treasurer for the City of Wilmington tonight, we're here speaking to you as private citizens, residents of the city for a long time, and just like many of you. Why are we here? Some of the media coverage from the News Journal, WDEL, a couple of weeks regarding our home, talking about the sale of our home. In fact, for the past 7 years, there have been several articles written about our home. You all remember when the tree hit our home, and I was actually in the house, and I just thank God that the Lord spared my life. We want to continue to inform you, to give you the whole story, the facts with documented proof. First, we want to thank you all for your support, your prayers, your well wishes, and let you know that we are well, all is good, God is good. Let's be clear. Our home will not be taken. Our home will not be taken at any time. So that you know, we're still in court. We got Superior Court, we've been there, and we're going to Supreme Court. That insult to injury, we had to turn around and pay $119,000 to a corrupt contractor, SCA, to keep our court case going. We wrote the check to SCA for $119,000 last Tuesday. Yet we still have no certificate of occupancy, no warranty, no permit, as determined by L&I, no code enforcement by the City of Wilmington, and the legal system that looks past city laws with their ruling. Where is the justice in all of this? How can an arbitrator or a court rule against city laws which has been violated? And with that, I'll turn it over to Velda.
Thanks. So we're here to try to give you more or less the whole story, not the media fake news, the whole story, the truth, and the facts. On September 30th, 2010, a massive tree fell onto our house.
Do you want him to show that tree?
Yeah, I'd like Aubin, if you can put up, you can start the slides, and we'll just kind of talk through them and flow through them. Fell onto our house. It was horrific to see your home smothered by a tree, and thank God, as Charles said, no one was hurt. You all know that a home is more than just bricks and mortar. Your house represents a lifetime of memories. Our second child was born while we lived in this house. You know, you celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving and barbecues. This is our family home. And many of you also know that Charles has been in the insurance business for more than 30 years. Thankfully, we had all of the appropriate coverage. Whatever amount of money was needed was available to the contractor who came in to do this work. Money was no object. Access to the house to repair all the damages was also no object. We moved out of the house. We put all of our furniture into storage. All of our belongings were stored, and our house was empty. We were out for 9 months. The contractor had total access and all the funds they needed to fully and properly repair all damage and reconstruct our roof. And what you were seeing was some of the visuals of the interior and exterior damage.
Yes.
So there was no reason whatsoever for SCA, the contractor, to cut any corners. Now, if you can go on to the next slide.
Right there. This is the contractor, SCA, who rebuilt our home. We want people to know who they are so that you don't do business with them. SCA Construction, Inc., they're at 3411 Silverside Road, Shipley Building, Suite 200, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. The senior manager is C. David McGruff, Thomas L. Culver, Gary Drumhiller, and that's their address. They were recommended to us by Lenny Sofrin, who's an architect, and he's the one in the newspaper. He said, I told the Potters not to pay them.
So that contractor started work in June of 2011. And you can see, this is just giving you an idea of some of the work that had to be done. If you could go ahead, Aubin, and move through those. Take note of this old ridge beam, because that's a major item in the violations once the extent of the defects were known.
Well, let me say this too. When we contracted with them, we contracted for a whole new roof, all new wood. Everything was supposed to be new. No old wood left.
Now, can you go back to that one for 1 second? If you look up at the top at that circle, the comment that Charles just made, you can see old wood and new wood. You can see the lighter wood and you can see the dark wood. And you can see where it connects in that thing across the top that we said is the ridge beam. Well, they're already connecting new wood to that old wood. So you know that old wood was not taken out. Okay, so you can move on. So in March of 2012, SCA presented to us that their work was complete. They had issued invoices totaling roughly $266,000 and received payment from us for $200,000. They told us that we could move into our home, and as I said, we had been out for 9 months. We discovered that there was some faulty work, that there were some things in the roof that weren't quite right. And so we withheld the last $60,000 pending them confirming the condition and correcting it.
That's called retainage by the contract. You could do that.
You can move on. So that was March of 2012. In May of 2012, the contractor, SCA, filed for mechanics lien and initiated the arbitration process. That was their legal method to collect the $60,000, despite the fact that there was clear indication that there were some deficiencies with their work.
Go back to that page for a minute. Ivan, yeah, keep going. Keep going. Right, keep going. Keep going. We want to go to
Not
that.
back.
No, go forward.
Forward.
Forward, I'm sorry. Right there. That's important because by the time this happened, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you reported to L&I. I
Okay.
want to get there.
Yes. So with, you stay on this page for a minute, with SCNA having initiated the legal proceeding, you know, we really toiled with how can this be when there's clearly some problems here. So I contacted License and Inspection and asked them the question, what do you have in your files that relate to this project, to this work? And in September 2012, L&I, with that call, came out for a site visit and reviewed their files, and they discovered that SCNA had violated the city code, that they had not taken out the proper permit, that they had not obtained inspections, and they had not obtained a certificate of occupancy. Now, mind you, when a contractor doesn't call license and inspection and have inspections done, and they close in the work, and particularly they tell the homeowner it's okay to move in, they have just allowed themselves to conceal
And
defective
misrepresent,
work.
because we were out for 9 months, and we believe they followed the city code, all laws that were necessary, and when they told us to move back in, we made the assumption they were reputable and they did what was right, and we found out that they did not do it.
Well, and in fact, it wasn't an assumption. They represented in their
Yes.
invoices on which we based and gave them payment.
Because their
that it was
engineer has
correct.
certified their work as being complete. But right now, their own structural engineer will not certify their work. Their own civil engineer will not certify their work.
So if we can now, Alvin, go to that very next slide.
Right there.
So with that discovery, L&I at that point did what it was supposed to do. They issued a citation to SCNA and for their failure to get
Read the whole
permits.
statement.
It is the position of the Department of License and Inspections that SCNA Construction Incorporated must obtain all required permits and necessary inspections to ensure that all work completed at the above referenced address has been completed in accordance with all necessary codes enforced by the City of Wilmington. Failure to comply will result in criminal summons issued to you, that's addressed to SCNA, for the failure to properly obtain permits while conducting construction work in the City of Wilmington. And it is signed by...
Leo Lynch, and still to date, L&I has not enforced it. I
It
want to
is-
get to the 9
It's
violations.
signed by
'cause the
Leo
time's
Lynch,
missing.
who at the time was the Deputy Commissioner of L&I.
Okay, let's get to the 9 violations. Keep going. Keep,
So now you remember there was a process underway where SCNA had, through arbitration in the court system, put through the claim that they were entitled to their $60,000. That was done in May of 2012, and in October of 2014, the arbitrator ruled, and the court subsequently followed and permitted that SCNA should be paid its $60,000.
But let's look at this right here. These are the facts. At the time when the arbitrator and the judge, the court said it, SCNA, no requirements for SCNA to correct deficits. They didn't comply with the city code. They had lost 2 city review board opinions. And there was one judge who said, Judge Silberman, are you gonna, okay. So no certificate of occupancy, no warranty. Let's go next page. We only got 10 minutes left.
Okay, so here's the first real major problem with the process and with our system that truly will affect and does affect other people. The city then, for 5 years on, refused to inspect the home, to give it a complete inspection, although they had identified that there were some issues that were of a code nature.
Next slide.
And so finally, after 5 years, from October 2012 to June of 2017, finally we got the city to come out and inspect. And here are their findings.
Okay, Now, if you look at the roof there, you see old wood and new wood, and you see how there's overlapping wood. That's because the ridge beam does not meet the code. It's a 2x8, it's supposed to be a 2x10. And there's some, you see one nail in places, there's supposed to be 4 or 5. The roof has already shifted. So let's go to the 9 code.
So we're gonna go through these, just flip right through them. So the first code violation that was identified was that the ridge beam was improperly sized to support the rafters.
You see the overhang.
In 1952, when the home was built, a 2x8 ridge beam was okay for the code.
But it's not
When they
now.
rebuilt it, that beam needed to be a 2x10. Now you'll remember in the earlier picture, they were not removing that old wood.
Didn't see the city list. Come on.
The second picture, please.
Improper fastening in the ridge beam. You can see where you can see light through, and you can see the disconnect there and the overhang on the ridge beam.
And I
Let's
want to
go.
point out, you see 2 nails, 1,
Yeah.
2.
Okay.
The code requires 4. The next one, improper
Keep going. Okay.
installation of insulation in the roof. The next one, missing rafter.
There's a rafter that's supposed to be back there. It's missing.
All the
Ceiling joist connected were concealed.
Rafters are supposed to be 16 inches apart. So if you don't have one in 16 inches, then it's missing. Next one, improper rafter cut at ridge beam.
Look at the cut and the disconnect there, and the old wood's still there.
Yeah, what you think you see. Space.
That is space there.
That
Come
is
on.
space. The next, collar ties. Improper location, improper fastening, improper placement. Next
Next.
slide. Old
Old
wood. We started out by saying the work
Next slide.
required all new wood.
Next slide. Go ahead.
So, the arbitration process yielded a decision that said, yes, the potter should pay. We saw that. The sheriff's sale, which you all heard about, I think Charles mentioned that, thank God, we were in a position to pay that. We would have paid it day one had we been given what we bargained for. But despite having paid the $119,000 in addition to the original amount of $200,000.
That's about $320,000, and still to date, we have no inspection, no warranty, no certificate of occupancy. The mayor and L&I still had not enforced the L&I review board order, had not cited SCNA for 9 violations, has not had SCNA come up to compliance with city code.
And so the question is, where's the justice in that? But the city, on the other hand, next slide, routinely and aggressively enforces the code on regular citizens, imposing penalties on instant tickets, parking tickets, water sewer bills, property taxes.
Or if you build a structure in the city and you had no inspection, no permit, they make you knock it down. Now, SCNA owns all of this, irrespectable or regardless for a permit or a drawing to put something up. They build something. We have something built on their house, and they're responsible for it. Do we have a list of all the 9 codes?
Well,
And-
we saw those individually.
But I want to
guess
show it
want-
to them on the city paper because it means something to me for them to see it. I'm going to get it. But in the meantime, when we were going through the process of telling the city to go ahead and find the people, can you get a close-up of this? I know it's small. Yes,
Just
I want
read
this.
it.
I'm going to read it, but I want to see it that it's the city. This is from Brenda James Roberts. Get us closer, and we're going to talk about that too. And what she says is that, "Hi, Velda, sorry I have not been able to call you. Be assured the city will do
Slow it
nothing
down if
first.
you're gonna say it.
As you see from the emails below, SCNA wants to hold off on the remand of the case to the Board of L&I until the underlying arbitration is completed. It is my understanding the arbitration is to resume in a week. SCNA has offered to pay additional permit fees without admitting guilt, but there is still a dispute about the amount. The city maintains is $280,000, SCNA believes it's $214,000. The point for this is that the city should have went on and moved and and enforce this, but they went along with the SCNA, the developer, the contractor, without enforcing the code. Go to Judge Silverman. Could you
Yeah.
put Judge Silverman's statement back up, please, Ivan? Keep going. Right there.
So for as you know, as much injustice and in some ways collusion between the city and the contractor occurred, there was one judge in this process who saw this issue and called it for what it is and sought to be fair and just in the process, and that was Judge Fred Silverman. He was a Superior Court judge during one phase of this 5-year process. And what he said in one of his orders through the proceedings was that no confirmation of the arbitrator's award will be issued until the permits and certificate of occupancy issue. In other words, he said to the contractor, if you want a mechanic's lien, if you want to be paid, then you have to show this court that you have satisfied what the Potters are entitled to as it relates to permits, certificates of occupancy. Unfortunately,
That case went dormant for about 2 years. We got a new superior judge.
well, he retired.
He retired.
Judge Silverman retired.
And we got Abigail
Legros.
Legros, and she came in. She didn't look at what he said. She just said, well, this has been going on for a long time. But guess what? This is our life.
Right.
This is our life.
Well,
And if you can see, and there were some inappropriate statements that she made. I respect all the judges and the system, but anytime a judge comes out saying this is a frivolous lawsuit, you suppose the scales of balance should be equal, and you say this is kitchen sink. No, this is not kitchen sink. We have paid over $320,000. There are 9 violations right here. If you get a close up on it, this is on the city seal. This is what took place June 24th. And if anybody with any sense, when you got a ridge beam that can't contain the rafters, when you got missing rafters and all the stuff that she showed, this is the city's stuff, and the city needs to enforce the code. Go ahead.
so, I guess really the point here is it's not the dollar
5
amount.
minutes.
It's not that it's $320,000 or that it's $3,000. It's the responsibility of the city to protect the safety and health of its residents. And it's the responsibility of the courts to fairly execute on the cases that are before them.
And it's easy, and let me say this about the court system. The judge could easily say, Potters, if they bring you a certificate of inspection and they pass all the city code, will you pay? We've already paid. The answer is absolutely yes. But the court has not one time put any burden on the contractor and saying to them, you want payment, get the inspection, get the certificate of occupancy, everything they need to make sure their home is safe. The court has not put any burden on them at all. The city has not put any burden on them at all because they had not enforced the code. And I submit to you, Mayor Brzezicki, I do not need you to fight my battles. We fight our own battles. All we ask you to do is simple. We want nothing from anybody. Enforce the code, enforce the code. Tell them to come out and inspect it. You come out, it's been inspected, and have them fix everything within 30 days. Enforce the code.
So, I guess in the last slide that we'll put up, and then we'll sort of talk to closing here.
Yeah.
I see a spelling error there.
That's all right.
The people of the city and the state of Delaware cannot tolerate a judicial system that permits arbitration to ignore its laws, and a government that is selective in whom it protects and against whom it enforces. For me, that's the bottom line. This issue is personal, yes, but it's more than personal because it affects people across our city and across our state. And heaven only knows how many people have had this or similar experience, and yet they haven't had the ability to fight it for 5 or 7 years. They haven't had the platform to speak out about it, and so they experienced it in silence. Well, that, we can't allow that to stand.
So what we're going to do, we're going to be putting up a Facebook page for people who have problems with contractors and arbitration, so you can tell us what's going on, and so that we can help you seek some help, because there's a lot of people out there. And I just really want to, I love my wife, and just, although we go through this pain, it's going to be gain, because the Lord's going to bless us. The Lord always blesses us.
Well, it
And-
already has.
Yes, and what,
And always
and what
does,
she
so.
has decided to do is to create, I'll let you say it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to create a foundation, because having walked now in the shoes of someone who has experienced this kind of injustice and the unfairness that this system creates, a foundation that can be available to assist. I had not in the past looked at the sheriff's sale reports, but I looked at the report for the sale that's going to occur next Tuesday, so this is real. There are 24 homes on that sheriff's sale list that are going to be, that are brought there by the city of Wilmington.
By enforcing their codes
By
and their
enforcing the law.
And let me say this, I know you're going to finish, but I need to say this. Some people's homes are in there for $2,000 for a sheriff's sale. Some are $3,000, some are $30,000, some are $40,000. But those homes have more value than that. So they're coming to rip a person's life away and take their home for $2,000, $4,000, $10,000, $30,000, and then they turn around and sell those homes and get equity. That money needs to go back to people. But some of the people who are out there, and you may not want to do it, you can go out there and there's help for you.
So, so I guess I just have been really impacted by seeing a city that, and I know properties get taken for sheriff's sales, and I know every individual case is individual, but to see 24 homes on that list as a result of the city enforcing its code on individuals, and yet to know that large companies and SCNA in particular has for 5 years
Gotten away with
failed
this.
to do its what it is been ordered to do in complying with the city code, and yet there's been no consequence. That's unconscionable.
And the question again is, city enforce the code. City enforce the code. And to our judiciary system, arbitration was supposed to be a mediation, but following the laws. If arbitration is not going to be handled right, we need to disband arbitration, and the courts will be overflowed. So city enforce the code right now. It should have been done a long time ago. You get the last word.
Well, I guess in closing, I would say, I just echo what you just said. That, this, at one level it sounds like, and at one level it is somewhat complex.
No,
but
it's not.
at its heart, it is very, very simple. The executive branch of this government is charged with protecting the health and safety and well-being of every citizen within this city. And we are citizens within this city. And so this mayor
wrap
just
it up.
needs to do his job and enforce the code and protect these citizens simply by enforcing a code for violations that they themselves have already identified.
And these are the facts. These aren't opinions. You saw it for yourself. You've seen the 9 violations. You've seen what's happening underneath the roof of our home. And you've seen the fact that the city said they were going to enforce the law. They have not, and it is their job. And so you have all the facts, so you can reach your own conclusion.
And I guess I just have to say this. We are brought here by the media making this public, because this has been going on for us for 7 years,
Right.
and we have not brought this public. But when the media continually brings
Tries
out
to assassinate somebody, you can't do it.
less than truthful, less than complete news and information, and I think it happened for the good. What man
gotta
makes
wrap it
for bad, God turns to good, and
We will
so
turn pain into gain.
I think we have, it's created an opportunity for us to make
help other
others
people.
aware and for us to impact that in a positive way. We thank you all for taking the time to listen.
And check out the
God
Facebook
bless.
page. All the information is there. Take care. All right, we got it.